our speaker from the beautiful sunshine city of Ventura, Jacob. All right. I'll get him, baby.
My name is Jacob, I'm alcoholic. My sobriety is 12/24/2008. I have a sponsor. He has a sponsor. All that good stuff. I sponsor people. Let me start that. So I'll tell you a little bit about what happened and what it's like. We're good? No? Sure. There you go. I grew up in Oxnard. I grew up in South Oxnard, various parts of Oxnard actually, I grew up in an addicted family. I grew up. My mom was a heroin addict. My mom was a crackhead. So all the things that came with that kind of household, that's how I grew up. I grew up hustling with her, committing crimes with her. When I was a little tyke, she would put jackets on me in Kmart, and I would run out of the store, and then she would take the jackets back and return those for money and all that stuff, it's like, I got him, not really trying to get me. And I don't tell you that to elicit I tell you that because it was important for me. It was instructive for me to realize, and early in alcohol, in my recovery, that didn't make me an alcoholic. That the things the baggage that I carry with me from my childhood and from my upbringing does not make me an alcoholic. What makes me an alcoholic is I cannot control and enjoy my drinking. When I try to exercise control, I am not enjoying myself. And when I'm enjoying myself, the brakes are all the way off. It's just full tilt. And whatever that is, that's what makes me an alcoholic. And it was important for me to realize that, because if you allow me to play the victim of circumstances of the human condition, I'll keep getting loaded behind that forever. So at a certain point, I had to take some responsibility for these actions. So, that was instructive for me to realize that. So, so I drank. Say a couple drinking stories. I barbecued my life, and I'm living in a bush, right? And I crawl out of this bush, and I look like I just crawled out of a bush. I got scratches all over me, and my clothes are bushy, and there's things are look like that, and so at this point in my life, I have gotten to the point where morally, I'm of a mindset that if you leave your car unattended, I'll check it to make sure it's locked, to make sure that you're good. So I'm doing this on the way to the liquor store, checking to make sure that these cars are locked. Upstanding, fine citizen, bush dweller that I am, and I see my reflection in the car window, and I look, and I'm just like, damn, I look, just gnarled, and my beard's all messed up, and I just think, man, this is crazy, So I had a dollar something, and I was walking down Woolley Road, and down Woolley past Ventura, almost to the Salvation Army. There's a little liquor store there, and right next to the liquor store there's a laundromat, and there's some apartments behind it, and I think it's on 8th Street. And so I go past the laundromat, and I see my reflection in the window, and I just I'm just like a vision for you, one shoe, just it's just bad, So I go into the liquor store, and I get a tall boy of I think it was a High Life, and I take it around the corner into the parking lot, and I just take that thing. I remember I would fold the bag down, and the crack crack crack. When the top, oh God, isn't that so delicious? You could just, it's coming. There's just that little, and so I crack it. I just take it to the neck, and when I come back around the front of the laundromat, I I stop and I see myself in the plate glass window, and alcohol did something for me. You know, I no longer looked like disheveled and like homeless. I looked like rugged and handsome, kind of, you know what I mean? Like just like it was a different, a full shift. You know, and that's what alcohol did for me, is it changed my perspective of reality, and it made me able to. It was something I used to cope with all the stuff for a long time, and I would chase that. I would chase that for a very long time. You know, I started seeking lower and lower companions, and things got worse and worse. And you know, I found myself. So another thing that highlights my alcoholism is, you know, I found myself I was in the military. I was in the 82nd, and this is pre-Bush era. This is so I'm there, and you know, and you can drink at the NCO clubs and whatnot. So we're out there drinking, and like I don't know. I was like, I don't know if you guys can tell by looking at me, like by all this, but I'm not a big dancer. Like I'm just not into it. Like I'm terrified of it, to be perfectly honest. But if you add like 6, 10, 15 beers to like this alcoholic, you will find me like incinerating the dance floor, right? I will be, and what it looks like is a 6'2" Caucasian version of the Worm. And it's like me in a vertical position, and then me flat face on the floor, and then crawl back to a vertical position and repeat, right? Yeah, yeah, I suck at dancing, that's for sure. So I get back to so I wake up the next morning, and my wife talks about, she talks about like a silent movie night, where it's like a black and white picture where you know, like there's no audio, but the visuals there, you know, so I'm there, like I know what I did, but I kind of like, it's like an out-of-body experience almost. And I wake up and I'm in the infantry, so you know, there's a lot of like tough guys there, and I wake up the next morning and I'm mortified. I can't believe that I was dancing. Like it's like I'm mortified for my behavior, you know, and it's funny when under those circumstances, but I realized that, you know, I could drink myself past what I'm comfortable being when I'm sober. And a lot of times you'll hear that same attribute applied to, you know, I've talked to people that spend the rest of their life in prison over that same concept. They just wanted to drink, and then all of a sudden stuff happened, and then they're in the penitentiary for the rest of their life, or they got in their car and drove, or whatever, you know. And I just never understood. I didn't really think that was possible, you know, until it was. So yeah, so I drank. So what happens? I started seeking lower and lower companionship, and things got worse and worse and worse. And you know, I found myself the last time that I got loaded, I was in the Blue Ghetto. That's Victoria and Hemlock. I don't know if you guys know about that little spot. It's pretty awesome. I don't think it's blue anymore. I think they actually painted it brown. They're black tan. That's the tan ghetto now. All right, so yeah. So, but it used to be the Blue Ghetto, and I'm running around there, and so we the way it's set up, if you don't know, there's a row of apartments, and then there'll be an alley, and another row of apartments, and then a street. And so, like, if you were someone that committed crimes and there was people chasing you, what you could do is you could kind of like run in between the apartments, and the cops either had to like jump out on foot and chase you, or like drive all the way around the block and like try to get you. So it's kind of like when your older brother's chasing you around the car and you're running around in circles, you know. So we thought that was big fun, and we did that for a while. And the last time I got loaded, I ended up in an apartment, and I remember I was upstairs, and this person, this woman ran in, and she's like, the cops they're coming to get me, and you know, like they're right there, and we're all thinking, well, why the fuck did you come here? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing, man? Like, so at any rate, so yeah, so we closed the door, and this other buddy I'd been hanging around with, he actually like ran past the cops and climbed up a tree and was like knocking at the window. He's like, hey, they're raiding the pad. I'm like, yeah, we know, that's what all the cops are about. And he's diving in the window, and there's all these flashlights, and I'm just thinking, fuck, I'm hanging out with people that are retarded. Like, this is crazy. This is crazy. You know, so in my, so they're hitting the door with the ram, and they're beating the door down. And in my infinite wisdom, I'm upstairs, and I realized, like, I had a thought. I was like, all right, what I could do is I could just get in the closet, and there's like a hamper and some clothes, and I'll just pull the hamper up here and bury myself in clothes. And I figured, I'm basically invisible. Like, I got this, right? So I hear the door getting, rammed open, and they're all coming in, and there's all this commotion, and then it gets quiet. And then I hear, Mr. Rhodes. I'm like, that's fucking weird. They know my last name. Jacob Rose. I'm like, that's not good. They know my first and last name. That's probably not going to end well. But I got the clothes on me, so I figured, fuck it, we're good, right? So we'll ride it out. And so the next thing I hear is this like, and I'm like, oh fuck, that's not good. And so sure enough, there's a dog there, and they pull me out, and I got one on each arm and one on each leg. And I look up, and it's this cop that we have been ditching for like 3 months. And he's like, oh, look who it is. He's so, I've never seen, his smile wrapped around the back of his head. He was so happy. I've never seen a cop that happy. I've never seen that. He was so happy. I made his day, man. As a matter of fact, he gave me a little parting gift that day. He Canine Officer Ike, he said some magic words to that dog, and that dog just locked onto my left butt cheek and just chewed into me, and just, right? And yeah, it felt just like that. Like, yeah, you guys should have been there. It was awesome. Yeah. So later, the window jumper guy, we're in the county jail, and he's like, hey, we could fucking hear you screaming the whole time. He's like, we were laughing. It's crazy. So they pull me down. They sat me down on my little tender butt, and I'm in the back of the cop car, and I remember thinking, like, I just said, like, let's go. Tired. Like, I've been doing outside issues for the last 3 months, and so I'm pulling like 23-hour days, and I'm just burnt, man. By this time, I've already done 2 prison terms. Like, it's like I know where I'm going, and I can do time, like whatever. Like, it's not a big deal, man. But I remember thinking that time it like just struck me, like, and I didn't have the vernacular that I do now. With years of program behind me, so I didn't know that they were going to bring me step 2. I didn't know that they were going to restore sanity. I didn't know that this was some entity that more powerful than me that was going to help me have some sanity. I didn't understand that. I just knew that I knew they were going to keep me safe for myself. The place that I was going to was dangerous, but it was a lot less dangerous than the things I was doing. And I was going to at least be able to be fed. I was going to sleep. I was going to have just the basic natural resources to sustain life where it was going to be happening for me. So I knew it was going to get somewhat better, even though I was going to be incarcerated. And I was, to be perfectly honest, I was ready. I was like, let's go, man. And I had talked to people that had the same mindset. I had long conversation with those people, and they were doing the rest of their life in the penitentiary. You talk to a lifer long enough, and you just realize, like, they have a mindset of, like, this is it. This is my existence, and I've fully accepted my reality, and I'm here, and that's it. And I'm like, fuck that, man, this is crazy. I don't know why I thought there was more for me, because I damn sure wasn't living like that, like there was more for me, but I didn't want that. So, so I do another violation, and this time they said I have a gun charge, so I do it's called flat time. I don't get like the half time and stuff like that. So they said you could do 10 flat, or you could do a 3-month program, and I'm like, I'm not the smartest motherfucker, but I know 3 is less than 10, so I know which way I'm going there, you know. So and they'd never done that before, so I was like, all right, I'll do the thing, man. And I ended up at a place called West Care in Bakersfield, and that was fucked because it was treatment and it was Bakersfield. It was hot, man. It was something else, and I didn't want or need or what was not interested in anything about this program at all, and so the whole time I didn't get anything while I was there, and so that I got out on December 24th, 2008, and that's the first time that I left a facility and did not go straight to a gas station and get a tall boy of Bud Ice, or straight to a liquor store, or straight. I didn't go. It was the first time, and I can't tell you. I can't tell you now why I did that any more than I could have told you then. It wasn't my decision. It was a hard left. It's something that happened to me, you know, and it's one of the things that keeps me hopping in Alcoholics Anonymous. It keeps me busy in Alcoholics Anonymous. It keeps me doing things like this. And if Bruce was here, I would say thank you. If you guys don't know Bruce, he's awesome. He's like the best, one of the best people you want to know, man. He couldn't make it tonight. He gave me a holler, but he called me and said, "Hey, we need a pinch hitter on our speaker," and I said yes, you know, because that's what I do. Because I don't know. Like I said, it wasn't my idea in the first place. I was never sitting around with the fellas going, "Hey, you know what we should do? We should go check out an AA meeting." You know what I mean? Like, that conversation never happened. So like, I don't know if this will ever happen to me again. Like, I know they'll incarcerate me again. I know they'll leave a light on, but I don't know if this thing will ever happen again. So it keeps me busy, you know, and I haven't done this thing perfectly, but you know, if you're new, get yourself a sponsor. I can't say enough about sponsorship. You know, I was lucky. I picked a sponsor that he had what I wanted. You know, his name is Danny Sullivan. He's not my current sponsor. He's my first sponsor. He's a little Irish guy about somewhere in here, right? Neighborhood there. He got a hook for a right hand, you know, a little hook on his hand. And he's the coolest person that you ever want to meet, man. He's so awesome, right? You know Danny, okay, yeah, he's so cool, man. He always had time for me, and he has like this disability, but you almost don't even notice. He's just so welcoming and so comfortable in his own skin. And I saw that, and I was like that's what I want. I don't know how do you do that? How do you just go through life and like be okay with just being you? Like, that's never been my reality. I've always had to have like this parole mug on, and so homie, and I was just like all this stuff, and I'm just making sure I'm standing the right way, and everything. It's just like this constant like battle of, am I, you know what I mean? What does this facade look like to the world? And I saw him navigating the world without all that noise in his head, and I was like, oh, that looks nice. That might be cool. So I asked him to be my sponsor, and I lucked out. You know, he wasn't afraid to be intimate with me. He wasn't afraid to be alone with me and read the book, page at a time. You know, he wasn't afraid of that. You know, and I got really lucky with him, man, because that's what I needed. I needed to understand what this program is and what it's not. You know, and that's the first things that we really started talking about is what is this program not and what is it? And it led me to all the realizations about taking responsibility for the human condition, the stuff that I can take responsibility for, and not giving this thing too much power. It's really just this phenomenon of craving and the allergy of the body afterwards. Like, that's it. Everything else I'm responsible for. And I know that sucks. It's like, but when you're an asshole on the freeway, that's you. Like, you don't get to blame that shit on alcoholism. Like, that's fucking you, man. Or it's me, and that was important for me, and it's paid dividends in my life. Practicing the principles has paid dividends in my life. We went through the book, we did the steps. He showed me, hey, this is how I'm working this step. This is how I'm practicing this principle in real time. Like, he would say, hey, look, I got this life situation happening right now, and what I'm going to do is insert some spiritual solution. And he showed me that. He modeled that for me. And that was huge. Had you just lectured me, I wouldn't be here. So, yeah. And he walked the walk. He used to so I was in his sober living, and he would take us out to eat after the meetings. And he was so comfortable with himself. He would, like, go buy us hamburgers, and he'd, like, grab his wallet, and he'd be grabbing the money, like, paying with his hook, and we'd be like, hook it up, Danny, hook it up. And he was like just my right-hand man. And he was just so cool, man. And I dug that dude, man. Yeah. So I can't say enough about sponsorship, man. I can't. He always had time for me, and I try to sponsor people in the same way. I try to. One, I do know what the steps mean. I do understand the steps. I have a good working knowledge of the steps. I understand the principles. I understand how they work in my life. I apply them on purpose, and so that's something that I try to model and show the guys that I sponsor. Is why I try to carry that legacy down, and it's paid dividends. It's I don't I don't have to practice the principles. I don't have to. I can be sober and not be practicing the principles. I can be, I've done it, and I see people do it all the time. I practice the principles because my 7-year-old son, deserves a dad that practices the fucking principles. My wife deserves a husband that practices the principles. My daughter deserves a father that practices. I owe a debt to the people that are closest to me and the people in society, because for a long time, I was a deduction. I was taking. And now I try to give back. And I do, a lot of the times, that is sparked from just practicing the principles. It's the very nature of that. And I'm not the most spiritual person, like prayer meditator. I pray and I try to meditate the best I can. But I believe that by the very definition of a spiritual principle, if you are practicing a spiritual principle, you are being spiritual. So it's kind of like a hack, So I started learning how to live different, and I started practicing the principles in everything I could at whatever level I was at. I tried to practice them, and things started getting better, man. I started trying to get custody of my daughter. She found herself in a facility, and I had left when she was 8 months to go be a tough guy and go do prison terms and be that guy. It would be 5 years before I was back in her life, and it was I didn't know what was going to happen. It was just kind of this happenstance thing of like, hey, your daughter's, she's busted and she's in this Casa Pacific and she needs you, and I'm like, oh shit, all right. So I started doing the things that I had learned in Alcoholics Anonymous. I didn't, up until this point, all I did was move furniture and go to prison. That's it. And, and so I, showing up to places and on time and all that, that's not my strong point, but being Alcoholics Anonymous, being shown by other men, other women in this program what to do, I started showing up to things on time, being where I was, being accountable for the things that I said I was going to do. I did them. And I just applied that to trying to get custody of my daughter. I just kind of did the next indicated thing. And it's like, and it was crazy because I had to pee for parole. I had to pee for custody, like the custody thing. And so I'm like, and they're both in different parts of they're one's in Oxnard and one's in Ventura, and I don't have a car. So I'm like, sometimes if both my colors get called, it's like, if I had to call to work, hey, I'm not going to be there today. I'm going to be riding a bus all day trying to pee places. But I just kept doing what we do here. First things first, next indicated thing, all that stuff. And like 6 months later, they gave me a kid. Like, here you go. And I'm like, oh shit, like what do I do now? It's like a dog chasing a car and then they catch it and they're like, okay, now what? But we learned together, man. That little girl, she taught me how to be a loving and affectionate father. And I can't say enough about that, man. I owned a sober living home shortly after I bought a sober living home and started running that, and I had her living with me, and I started dating a school teacher who later became my wife. And so we had this cool little family, man, and my daughter lived with me in the sober living home. It was like, and everybody's like, dude, is that a good idea? But she was never there. It was me and her were only there together. But I remember, so I wore this Johnny Cash T-shirt. I used to in the mornings, I would put her on my feet and we would dance to Johnny Cash in the mornings, and she loves that, man. It's something special we have, and I almost missed it, man. Like I fucking almost missed it, I'm forever grateful to you guys, to you and you and you. Had you not been here for me, shown me what to do, I don't know, man. I know the type of person I am without this program, and I know I'm a lot better with it. And I got to make amends to my daughter. I waited 7 or 8 years because I wanted her to understand the magnitude of what I was doing. I wanted her to understand that it's not an apology. This is more than that. And so I took her. I made my amends to her, and she said, I couldn't have asked for a better father. I know, man. And I'm like that fucking floored me. How do you go from like, I'm running around, Wolf Street and C Street fucking pulling up gutter puddle water to go shoot heroin with 3 dudes? Like, how do you go from that to I'm the best dad? Like, where else do you go to get that? I've never seen anything other. I've never seen another thing, entity, group, nothing that will provide you with that kind of a gift. And you know what's crazy? That's not even remarkable. It's common. It happens all the time. That's crazy. So I make amends, and me and my daughter, we're close, man. She talks about me so much, her boyfriend's mom gets pissed, man. She's like, not everybody has a good dad like you. Like, it's like, so we're close, man. I'm dating this teacher, and we get married, and oh no, we're still dating, and so wouldn't you know it, we got a little apartment off over in the Jasper Apartments, and that was such a fun time, man. That was such a cool time, So she comes home one day and she's like, you'll never guess who was at work today. And I'm like, oh, you're probably right. It could be anybody. Like, I don't know, you're probably right. Who the fuck? Could be a lot of people. She's like, Canine Officer Ike was there today. I'm like, oh shit. And she's a professional, so she can't tell all her like colleagues like, oh, that dog chewed on my boyfriend's ass. You know what I mean? So they retired him, and they're taking him to see the kids, man. You know, and it's just like you know, like things go up and down in Alcoholics Anonymous, but it's, you know, like this meeting says, we're not a glum lot. Like things, like it's been a really fun ride, man. It's been really I can't remember waking up after like a hard night of drinking and outside issues at the Rosita Motel in Five Points, going, you know what? Going, it's gonna be a great day. Like, you know what I mean? Like that never happened. And that happens often. Like I wake up and I remember I was driving to work last week, and just the way that, like, cause I drive it's 6:45-ish, and the sun's like coming up behind the mountain. I'm driving, you know, towards LA, and it's just this huge light show. And I was just thinking, I was like, there's no way you can't tell me there's not something. Because I'm driving, and I'm looking at this like light show in the sky, this landscape, and I just started feeling like optimistic about my day. It made me feel like today's going to be a good day. You know, and I'm thinking, if we're just spinning around in some fucking circle, you know, sphere, and there's nothing, then why does that elicit an emotional response? Why does the sky, something inanimate object, elicit? That's not possible. So, yeah, you know, you can't convince me. But I wake up often feeling good about my life, feeling good about the person I am, feeling good about the man I am. I can't say that that's ever been the case when I'm drinking or doing outside issues, where I just think that I have something to offer. So, yeah. So we got married. We had a big old fat AA wedding, a lot of people, and everybody showed up, and it was about 184 degrees. It was like 104, but it was gnarly, man. But everybody showed up, man, and it was fun. I've been overpaid in this thing. Yeah, we had a son about 7 years ago, and that's my little guy, man. I'm grateful for my daughter has taught me how to be a loving and affectionate father to my son. You know, there's not a day that goes by that I get to put him to sleep every day. We go up into his room, get up in his bed. I get him here. We watch Larva, Grizzlies, cartoons. And then I put on classical music, and I rub his back for like one classical music song. And I've done that for years. And he curls over, and I just think, like, this is the closest I'll ever be to being a kid again. Like, I get to see myself in him, but without all the years of fucking all the bullshit. I get to see it reflected back to me, and it's beautiful. And I'm aware of it. I'm cognizant for it. Like I'm not checked out somewhere, you know. And we just have like a really good life. Me and my wife we're like peas and carrots, man. The two of us. Our contractor's like, you guys are like fucking polar opposites, man. Like he's like we're like yin and yang, you know. But we it works for us, man. And yeah, I can't say enough what it's like to have my wife be someone that's also in program, you know, and we get to compromise and do all the things that, like, all the stuff that you hear, like in a happy household. Like, my household looks like that. There's no slamming doors. There's no screaming at each other. There's no manipulation. There's none of that fucking shit. You know, it's just a happy home. You know, and I can't tell you, like, I say this all the time. I haven't found the words big enough to describe what it feels like to pull into my driveway. You know, I have this life that, like, I used to dream about having this little tiny life. I got my wife and my kids and my little family unit, and I go to work, and we just bought a house, and like things are, you know, and I used to sit in my little jail cell, and I used to like fantasize about just having just like a little life. You know, I just didn't know how to get there. And now I'm overpaid. So my name's Jacob, I'm an alcoholic.